Great. As everyone comes in, I think people are just arriving. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Ruth Burgess and I'm the Community Green Grants Officer. It's really nice to have you all here. You're muted.
Can't hear you, Ruth. You're on mute.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so if everyone else could just mute themselves and turn their camera off, that would be great. So I'm just going to go through a few things. They've got a very packed hour. I will be introducing Councillor Ian Courts in a minute, and later I'll be going through my presentation on the Community Green Grants. We're also going to hear from Jenny from Hart as well, and then we'll be hearing from Yasmin and Afsal from George Park later, who'll be telling us a little bit about the work that they've been doing. So yeah, just a reminder, turn your camera off unless you're a speaker. Please stay on mute. We will be taking some questions later, which are ones that people have already emailed in as requested. But if you do have a question at the end of this hour, don't worry, you can email me at the Community Grants email, and I'm happy to go through any follow-up afterwards. So don't worry, if you have a question that comes up today, you can email it to me afterwards. So yeah, please mute yourself and turn your camera off. And I'm very happy now to pass over to the leader of Solihull Council, Councillor Ian Courts, who's our portfolio holder for the environment.
Thank you very much, Ruth, and it's great to see you all here today. As Ruth has said, I'm leader of Solihull Council. I'm an elected member of Solihull Council, and I have in the Combined Authority, Westminster Combined Authority, responsibility portfolio holder is what it's called, for environment and energy. That's working under Andy Street. And, you know, it's great today to be involved with, you know, launching this Community Green Grants program. I mean, I think it's worth saying, I mean, I have a very personal interest in this whole subject. I've always been interested in the natural world and wildlife. I mean, one of the things that I did, my wife, 15 years ago now, we organised a woodland, 4-acre woodland in the place where I live, in a council park actually, but in my town. And you know, later on, now I look at it and say the effort that went into it. You've got a really beautiful natural space. I mean, people love it. Dogs like it. I'm afraid, you know, sometimes they bark a bit, but generally they, you know, it's great to see the community enjoying the space, and wildlife love it too. So I know it can be done. That was a medium-sized thing, but small and big, this is an important area. Last year, the Combined Authority published its natural environment plan, and access to green space is one of the 4 key priority areas. We know that time spent with nature is beneficial to physical and mental health, and you know, we need to increase the amount of available green space that we can, because what we know is that in the West Midlands, it's, you know, everybody doesn't have good access you know, to green space, whether it's just to look at the wildlife, or whether it's to go walking with their dog. There isn't enough space. So this program is designed to help increase or improve green spaces. It might be access to, it might be connect people with nature. There might be tree planting. Tree planting is something that is, you know, we're doing across the West Midlands and on a large scale. We may just want to enhance the local environment. So you'll be hearing later on in more detail about the small and large grants that we want to make available. I mean, it's part of a £700,000 programme being in place over 2 years. And as I say, it's to improve access to green space and increase biodiversity. Now, Ruth is leading the programme at the Combined Authority, as well as you'll be hearing also from colleagues of Heart of England Community Foundation who are supporting the administration. importantly, you'll be hearing from the Friends of George's Park group to talk about their experience. And I think whatever else you need to hear from the people who are doing these things or are help delivering, who have done them, because you know, their experiences in how they can help improve people's quality of life is so important. As I said, I've seen it myself, and you know, this is the West Midlands we wish to see. So I'm going to hand over to Ruth, but I just want to say again, really thank you all for coming and showing all this enthusiasm, because you know, it's really important to me, to us, that we take steps to improve opportunities for everyone in the West Midlands. So that's it from me. Thank you for your time. Ruth, over to you for some detail.
Thanks very much. I'm hoping there that you can all see my slides. Lisa, if you could just confirm, that'd be great.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so just to give you a bit of background to the programme, the Community Green Grants came out of a piece of research the Combined Authority did with the New Economics Foundation about the negative impact of the lack of green space. We all know that poor access to green space is bad for people, and it can also make it harder for people to connect with the natural environment and care for nature. So the aim of this fund is to increase or improve green spaces close to where people live, to help to connect people to nature, especially communities experiencing green deprivation, so where people don't have good access to green space. We want to enhance the local environment, so for example, tree planting and increasing the biodiversity, and we want to tackle barriers to access to green space. So for example, if there are concerns around access to the green space because of things like health and safety. For this fund, we really want to fund community-based organisations that can work alongside people. We want to develop projects in existing green spaces, in blue spaces by canals and riversides, and also in grey spaces. So maybe you have an unused car park that you want to be greened, or you want to improve the green areas nearby a canal towpath. We want projects that benefit the environment, enhance people's lives, projects that empower communities and manage and improve their own local green space and provide better access for all. The CA is very excited to be working with Heart Community Foundation, who will manage the application process and the payments, and you'll be hearing from Jenny from Heart later. So we have small grants of between 3,000 to 25,000. These are the main thrusts of the fund. They're aimed at charities, CICs, community groups who are embedded in the community and work successfully alongside people to get them accessing green space. I have included here some examples of the kind of thing you could do, like running allotments, community gardens, tree planting, growing fruit and vegetables, pocket parks, nature play groups. Now, these are just examples. We are really open to your ideas. The important factor is for you to think about what resources you have, what your community need is, and what would work well in your neighbourhood. We also have large grants of between 25,000 up to 100,000. These are limited, so for the larger grants, we are expecting bigger, more ambitious plans. For example, a major growing project or the creation of a habitat for an at-risk species or plant life. The larger grants will be tougher to get, so the plans will need to meet all the grant requirements to be considered. So telling you a little bit about the grant model we will be using is a rolling grant programme. This means that people can apply at any point throughout the 2-year programme, and we're committed to giving away a certain amount each quarter to ensure the grant lasts over the whole period. This means you should not feel the need to rush all at once to apply, because we're not going to give out the money all in one go. The applications for financial awards will be managed by Heart Community Foundation. Heart will initially assess the eligibility of applicants, and then the Community Grants Officer and the Grant Approval Panel will make decisions on who gets funded. This panel will be made up of CA staff and external stakeholders. Funding is for projects rather than ongoing or general work, and can be used for costs directly linked to delivering the approved projects. So who can apply? So this fund is community and voluntary groups, charities and not-for-profit organisations with provable charitable aims. The organisations must be based in the combined authority area. You need to have either a management committee or a board of trustees or a board of directors with at least 3 unrelated people as members. You do need to have a bank account in the name of your organisation so you can receive the money. The policies and documents that will be submitted with the application would be your annual accounts or financial records, safeguarding and equal opportunities policies, and evidence, if needed, for permission to use land if that's an issue. We welcome applications from unconstituted groups, but what you will need to do is find a partner organisation to work with that fulfills that criteria. So if there is an unconstituted group with a great idea, please explore partnership working. So what we will fund, please be careful that all costs are justifiable and directly linked to the project activity. This fund should not be used for your general work. Be aware of double costs. For example, if you already have funding for a part of your project, don't ask for it to be funded again. When putting together your budget, please include as much detail as possible. If relevant, include justification for costs in the project description. For example, if you want to hire a bit of equipment that's essential to the project, please let us know why in the project description. It's useful to know these things. You don't have to have match funding, but if you do, it is useful to know those details. So what we won't fund, this is all pretty much standard criteria. A few things to note is that we can't fund projects that promote religious or political views, but we are very happy to fund faith groups that meet the previously discussed requirements. Also, with schools and colleges, some do have setups like friends of groups that meet the requirements and perhaps projects and land that are more accessible. There is a possibility of funding if you meet that criteria. So the application criteria. The applicants will need to answer the following questions when applying for the fund. They cover the project plan. So these will be the details like what will you be doing? What are your activities and aims of the project? Who is the project for and who do you want to come? And what are the numbers of the people you want to work with? Don't assume we know anything about your organisation or project, so include as much detail as you can. Justification for the plans. This is really important. You need to explain why is your project needed. You need to show that there's an interest and support. So this could be through local consultation or research you've done. Perhaps you piloted something, so know there's a need and interest. So it's important to stress that this project is about access. So we don't want to fund something that people then won't want to come along to. So it's important that you are applying for something where there is a need and interest. Another essential element is improving the environment. This is key to the project. Whilst projects like walking or cycling in parks are positive and great for people's health, they are not necessarily adding to the biodiversity of an area. So your project needs to have elements that add to the environment. So this could be planting, it could be fruit and vegetable growing, it could be litter picking so that nature can thrive and come back to the area. It could be habitat creation, nature boxes. You need to think about what is needed and what will thrive in your area. Please also think about the legacy of your project. Planting and growing projects are a lot of work and need quite a lot of maintenance. So how are you going to ensure, for example, that the wildflowers you planted are going to thrive when your project ends? So project priorities. So the pot is limited, so it's likely that the grant will be popular. So we have a priority criteria that will form part of the assessment if needed. So this is that the project is an area of deprivation or green deprivation where people are not currently accessing green space. The project is creating a new green or blue space or significantly increasing access. So that would be something that will be looked at. And that the project is good value for money. Even though we are seeking to extend this fund, the pot is limited, so value for money is an important factor. We will aim as much as we can to make sure the fund is evenly spread over the CA area, but we won't prioritise this over quality of application. So the next steps. So the portal is now open. The panel will be meeting at the end of each quarter. This quarter is short, unfortunately, but we'll be back to a normal pace after this quarter. Once you have read the guidelines and application, feel free to contact me for an informal conversation about your project idea. I'm always really happy to chat through ideas and give general advice and guidance, but please be aware that advice doesn't guarantee your application will be successful. Heart are also here to offer advice and guidance, and Jenny is going to take you through the website in just a moment. I also really encourage you to utilise the support offered by your local voluntary sector councils as well. They are able to help with elements like writing constitutions and policies if you're still at that early stage. So thank you so much for listening to me today. I'm going to hand you over to Jenny now, and my email will be going in the chat. So if you do have any questions following today's presentation, then I'm really happy to address them. Now I need to try and stop sharing. There we are. So over to Jenny.
Hi, thank you. I'm going to put my screen on now. Can somebody tell me if you can see that?
Yes, you can see it.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, I'm Jenny Waitley. I'm a grants officer at the Heart of England Community Foundation. I'm going to give you a very brief introduction to the foundation in case you're not aware of us already, and then talk to you about how to actually make the application to the Green Grants Fund. The Heart of England Community Foundation's been running for almost 27 years. Our birthday's on Valentine's Day coming up. We're one of a network of about 47 community foundations across the UK. We raise money to support mainly small community organisations. Our income is a mixture of interests from our own endowment and funds from private individuals, corporate donors and the public sector, including local authorities. We distribute this money through a number of different grant programmes, and then I think we've got about 17 open at the moment. Our role with the Green Grants Programme is to provide the grant system for the combined authority. So we will be responsible for issuing and receiving the application forms, undertaking a due diligence process on those received, providing the authority with a portfolio of applications, notifying applicants of the outcome, and managing the grant monitoring process. So we're not assessing the applications or making the decisions. That will be done by the authority. So I wanted to go through some basic requirements for applicants to any of our programmes and highlight those specific to the Green Grants Fund, some of which Ruth has already touched upon. So we can accept applications from constituted community groups, registered charities, companies limited by guarantee with charitable aims, not-for-profit CICs and registered co-ops based in the West Midlands Combined Authority area. The Green Grants Fund has small grants, as Ruth said, of 3,000 to 25,000 and large grants of 25,000 to 100,000. But please remember those are the maximums, so don't apply for more than you actually need. Only fund organisations that have a management committee or board of trustees with at least 3 unrelated people. For companies of any kind, there must be at least 3 unrelated directors registered with Companies House. And it's the same for registered charities, where there must be 3 trustees registered with the Charity Commission. With your application, you must send us some additional supporting documents, and these are used as part of the due diligence checks that we'll be doing, which is part of the accountability that we generally do anyway to funders and donors and for audit purposes. These help us to understand the general health of your organisation. So make sure you've got the supporting documents to hand before you submit the application. And the most common delays we experience is from chasing missing documents. I'll just run through those in a little bit more detail now. Sorry. So it's a copy of your governing document, and we'll be checking the dissolution clause or asset lock. We need to see a list of your management committee members or directors, and that list should show us who the bank signatories are. We need a bank statement from within the last 3 months. We want a copy of your most recent annual accounts, and if possible, we prefer full accounts rather than any abridged versions. A copy of your equal opportunities policy and a copy of your safeguarding policy That could be either for children or vulnerable adults. And if you've got both, then please send both. We'll be checking different aspects of those policies. And there's a section on our website that will explain what we're looking for in those. If you're asking for any capital items of £300 or more, you must send 3 quotations. If you require legal permissions for any works or you need any licenses to do the work, please include written evidence of those. And a list of the documents you need is given in the fund fact sheet, which you'll see in a minute, and also at the end of the application form itself. I've already mentioned you'll need a bank account open in the name of your organisation, but with the bank statement that you send us, please make sure your copy is legible, showing the bank logo, the account name and number, sort code, and opening and closing balance. We sometimes get people sending in photographs of their bank statements where bits are missing. If you can and have an online banking and send a PDF, that's even better. But if it's a photograph, just check it before you send it, that we can see all the details. Okay, how to apply. All our applications are made online, and I'll show you that in a minute. The supporting documents I've listed, they are uploaded at the same time as the application form is submitted. This is a programme without set application deadlines, but please bear in mind when you're planning that it can take up to the 12 weeks for you to have the decision, so build that into your project timeline. If you're successful, you'll be notified by us by email, and you should usually receive the grant by BACS transfer within about 14 days. You'll be required to complete grant monitoring reports. This could be an interim and an end of grant report, or just an end of grant report, depending on the size of the grant you're awarded. And the notification, the report comes as a link in an email notification, so look out for that. So now I wanted just to show you our website so that you can see where you can find the information. Let me just open that. Okay, can somebody just say that they can see that?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's our home
Yes,
page. The button that you really need most is the apply button here, and it'll take you through to the available grants that we've got. At the minute, the green grants is right at the bottom because we've only just loaded it, but that's where you'll find information about green grants. Before I go on to that, I'm just going to show you something else on this tab. We've got a support for applicants area, which has got some FAQs, but the next most useful section is the essential information area, and it's definitely worth you having a look at all of this before you apply. I mentioned things like policies, and so this can tell you a little bit more information about what we're looking for in those policies. These are sort of basic agreed good practice on what a policy should include. So have a look at that, and you may need to update yours before you submit them. So just go back to the available grants and say you've got all these other ones that we have. So if you're interested in other funding, you can have a look at those as well. We'll go on to the green grants. It gives you, again, more information about sort of like a summary information. And I mentioned a fund fact sheet, which is there. It's fairly long fact sheet, so have a good read of that. It tells you who can and can't apply, what you'll need to do, the application process. And it actually takes you through some of the questions in the application form itself, which is really useful. To get hold of the application form, you go to the Apply Now button, and that takes you through to a registration page. All we need you to do is to put your email address in and then click Proceed, and then you'll get an automatic reply email with a link to the application form. So, okay, and I was going to show you a copy of, let's go back to where it was. Okay, going to show you a copy of the application form. My PowerPoint's just gone down. think no, we're okay. Can you see the application form?
Yes.
Lovely,
Yeah.
thank you. So that's what the form will look like when it comes through to you. It's fairly long form, but actually a lot of the information is straightforward. It's things like your organisation's contact details for a main person, the aims and objectives of your organisation, a bit about your management committee, a bit about your income and expenditure over the last accounting year. And then you go into section 2, which is the project details. And as I say, on the fund fact sheet, you've got quite a lot of information about that will help you fill in these boxes on the different questions about what you're going to be doing. The section on impact, which is mainly drop-down buttons, drop-down lists. So you click on those. And then towards the end is the project budget section. And then some, we ask for references, and right at the very end is a whole set of the terms and conditions if you were to be awarded a grant. Right at the very bottom, oh sorry, we've got some equal ops information there, but right at the very bottom is where you attach your supporting documents. It opens up boxes where you can drop in your own documents. If you run out of space there, you can email the documents separately and we'll match those up with your application form. You can save the application form as you go as a draft, so you can come back to it later. But what a lot of people do as well is to work in a Word document so that they can edit it easily and then copy and paste from the Word document into this form. Okay, just shut that down. So just a quick summary then. Please read the fund fact sheet that, as I say, you'll find on the website. Make sure you know which supporting documents you need to send with that and have them ready. Have a look through the essential information again on our website. If you're getting stuck with knowing what we're expecting, you probably can find the information there. As I said, save it as a draft. And the last thing that we often recommend is ask a friend to read through your application before you send it in, because if they understand what you're talking about, then it's very likely that the people who will be assessing your application will understand. And as Ruth said, people won't necessarily know your area or your organisation, so the clearer, the more concise you can be, the better for those looking at them. So that was all I was going to show you. I know we're going to answer any other questions right at the end, but our contact details are there, which will be circulated after this session. So that's the end of my presentation.
Thanks very much, Jenny. That's really useful. I've shared the link to Heart in the chat. And we're now going to spend some time chatting with Yasmin and Afzal from Friends of George Park, if they're both here today. Can I ask, unless you're Yasmin or Afzal, can you turn your camera off? So we have just Yasmin and Afzal up. Oh, I saw Yasmin then.
You did, but I didn't know whether I was allowed to stay on
Yes,
or not,
please.
you see.
Lovely to see you. Thank you so much, Yasmin and Afzal, for joining us today. We really appreciate
Thank you very much for having us as well.
You're welcome. We really appreciate giving up your time. You know, as we launched this grant, obviously we are at the beginning stages. We haven't funded anyone, so we can't tell you about groups we funded, but I heard about the great work that Afzal and Yasmin has been doing through their local councillor, and it just sounded like such an amazing project. I thought it would be great inspiration for the people on the chat here today to learn about what you've done, the challenges you had, and the difference that it made. So I'll start the questions in a minute, but if you just want to introduce yourselves first, that would be great.
Okay, my name's Yasmin Akhtar, and I'm the chair of Friends of George's Park.
And I am Afzal, and I'm the treasurer of George's Park and a lifelong resident of Lascelles, which is in a small area in Birmingham.
Great, thanks very much. So can you tell us a bit about the park and what it was like before you set up the Friends of group?
Okay, first of all, a bit about the park was when lockdown did happen, we had more people coming to the park and wanting to use the green space because it's the only green space we have in Lozelles. And things like, for me personally, I'm sure Afzal will agree, we had things like Lozelles in bloom, where flowers were put round in certain areas of Lozelles, which made Lozelles look better and basically more greener for us as well. We also had street action as well, which was part of Lozelles, which made me and some of my friends care about the environment in Lozelles. Which is why I'm involved with now the Friends of Georgie's Park. Georgie's Park is a passion for me. I've lived in Lozelles all my life. It's actually a park I grew up in, and I'm happy to say I've taken my children there as well. So I have a lot of passion for that park, and we're doing some amazing things. Afzal, if you want to take over.
Yeah, like Yas says, you know, George's Park is quite special to like the people that we, the other friends of George's Park. I mean, you only see me and Yas today, but trust me, there's a bigger group of us, and I think everyone just shares that same passion. And the thing is, you know, Lozelles, you know, we've lived in Lozelles all our life, and we've seen the way Lozelles has changed over the years. And you know, from what it was back then to what it is now, you know, we've come a long way, but there's still a lot of hard work to do in Lozelles and an area. So people who aren't familiar with Lozelles, you know, there's over 9,000 residents in Lozelles. You know, it's not the biggest of wards in Birmingham, and it is, you know, an area of high deprivation. And there's other challenges that we got through the pandemic. We were hit quite hard. So, you know, there's a lot of challenges in the area. But George's Park is just like, I think what we realized during the pandemic and the lockdown is that we've got this special green space in Lozelles that's been underused. And I'm actually quite embarrassed to say this, but you know, I've lived opposite the park now for the last 6 years, and before the lockdown, I could probably count on my hand the number of times I would actually walk into the park, you know, to have a walk or cycle or whatever. But throughout the lockdown, I realized actually, do you know what? This space in front of me is special, and we have to do what we can do as a community that live in this area, that use the park for our mental well-being and our physical well-being. We need to take that into our own hands and not just rely on central government and the councils and the people who are really living in this area. You know, they make decisions, and you know, some of the decisions they make is fantastic and they bring investment into the park, but actually as people that live in this area and residents of Lozelles living near George's Park, we need to take care of that. We need to take that into our hands and actually drive the future of the park. So that's how Friends of George's Park came about in January. It was in January, wasn't it?
It was in January, yeah. Last year, this time.
Yeah,
yeah.
last year.
That's when we formed. Yeah, it's been brilliant ever since. Yeah,
feels like a lot longer than that, doesn't it?
yeah.
I think lockdown made us all think a lot similar to yourselves about our green spaces. So can you tell us a little bit about your activities that the Friends group did, and you know, what made a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, I noticed throughout lockdown there was a lot of new faces coming into the park, and personally as well, I would, you know, on my daily walks, and I take the kids there to do their the daily sort of exercise and things like that. So I thought, you know what, we need to do something about this to encourage and inspire more people to come and use the park. And it started off with simple things like litter picks. To be honest, you know, we do have a issue with litter in the area. And it just started off with litter picks and like group litter picks, and then that sort of quickly established to like a monthly litter pick. And you know, it's just started off with something small like litter picks. You know, it doesn't take anything, it doesn't cost anything to get a group of people together and go out and litter pick around the area. And then we did other things. I think that the general theme of our events is community, like bringing the community together. And it's amazing how a park can bring different sects and different parts of the community together. You know, so it doesn't matter what color you are, what background, what sexuality, you know, it literally doesn't matter, as this space, this green space, brings anyone and everyone together. And that's what I really loved about, you know, being part of George's Park, because I got to meet Yasmin for one. We didn't know each other, but you know, we got to meet a lot of like residents, a lot of people that live in the area that, you know, we wouldn't have heard of or spoken to before that, and actually doing like events and little community sort of gatherings. I mentioned the litter picks, but we also did like flower bed planting. So there's like a flower bed in our park, which was
Great.
which used to be looked after by the council, but over the last sort of 3 years they stopped. I don't know whether it was funding or COVID or whatever it was. They stopped looking after it, so that became quite unattractive. So we as a community again got together. We had a day where we had a litter pick. We did a litter pick, and then we took care of that flower bed. So we replanted that flower bed. We were quite lucky to have other organisations in Lozells that are quite active in bringing investment. So we sort of piggybacked on with them, and they helped us with some funding some flowers and things like that. And we did the multicultural community picnic as well. So again, it's all about bringing different cultures together and using the park as like a base for that as well.
We also got children to actually plant the flowers in our flower bed, and also decorate some stones, painted them whichever way they wanted to, and you had like a whole personality of little children's decorative things on the flower bed, which looked amazing. Again, we took them flowers out and we replanted some again for winter. And we made contact with a lovely man that works at Anglesey Primary School, who's a gardener there. So it's basically a whole community involvement, from children to adults to the elderly as well. Because me and Afzal, what we want to do is not just focus on just kids. It's about the adults and the older generation as well, who our focus is on, to help their mental health in terms of planting. And just being able to talk to someone as well. I think we're all lacking that due to, you know, the last 2 years of not being able to have proper human contact.
And also getting people active as well, because what we try to do is, like, for example, we had the bike ability sessions in the park. So that's something that we drove together, and we got professional biking instructors to come into Lozells in this park. It's never been done before, and actually, you know, from women, the women to the little kids, the elder generation, all the different families coming together and learning to cycle together. So that was quite nice to see. And
another thing was the art workshop we had for 4 weeks, and it ran over the 6 weeks holiday. So what you're finding was kids were actually exploring things that were in the park, and then making pictures similar to that as well. And we've never had an arts workshop in Lozells or George's Park ever. And it was nice. It was a Saturday morning. The kids were off their iPads and TV. There's no tech. It was just fresh air, nature, and doing some painting. It was a real delight. I can't say I was happy about waking up early in the morning, but however, I did it for 4 weeks.
It was amazing.
You've done so much in like a short period of time. It's amazing. What's that taught you about the importance of access to green space for people?
For me, definitely that outdoor space is needed no matter where you live, whether you have 10 or 1 outdoor space. And what I've learned from that is that we need to take care of our outdoor space as well, because if we don't, it'll just get left abandoned. And I think the outdoor space helped a lot of people with their mental health in Lozells as well. Not just including the mile walk. It was just about being able to see and talk to people. I think that's what I've learned. I don't know about you, Afzal.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's getting people active. I think it's really important to have a decent, usable, accessible outdoor space where people can come out, keep active, whether it's learning to cycle or just walking. Mental well-being, as you say. And also like environmental awareness as well. So whether it's learning how to plant your own, grow your own, we've got really good sort of vision in terms of like having community vegetable patches and vegetable gardens and things like that. Just helping people live a better life. I think lifestyle, especially in areas where there's high deprivation, there's various illnesses, diabetes, whatever it is. It's I think outdoor space is not just about, you know, physical well-being, but it is mental well-being. It's everything, and everything just sort of combined. And outdoor space is definitely important to yeah.
Thank you. And what are your future plans for the park? Any ambitions or big plans coming up?
Bigger and better things, Ruth. Bigger and better things. For me, we've got the Commonwealth, which is on our doorstep. So we're having some sort of interaction with that. Me personally, I'd like to see more activities in the park, ranging from all ages. Starting from the spring Afzal, we need to start getting things sorted. And I think it's more of a community partnership than it is just me and Afzal. It's about the good people that live in Lozells that are coming out to help and volunteer their hours to make Lozells a better, greener, happier place.
Wonderful. Yeah. Anything to add, Afzal?
I think you've summarised it beautifully. Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
having
sharing
us
with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I hope that's been some inspiration for you all. It's been great to hear about the work of George Park and how they really help people to think about that access and different ways to access that space, as well as doing the growing and the planting. So yeah, as when we sent out the invitation for this webinar, we did ask people to submit questions in advance that we could address, just because there's so many of you. It's too difficult just to take general questions. But if you do have questions that aren't covered, please do email me on the email that I shared in the chat, and I will address those. And I will go through the chat at the end of this webinar and see if I can answer any of those questions. But yeah, we had a few questions submitted, so I'm going to go through those now. So somebody asked, can you apply again if you're unsuccessful the first time? And yes, you can. You can apply again if you are unsuccessful. So if you apply and you don't get funded, then we can provide you with feedback, and then you are welcome to apply again if relevant. If for any reason your application wasn't eligible, we would let you know. Someone also asked, how long do decisions take? I think Jenny did cover that, but it's a rolling grant. So it depends at what point you apply during the quarter, but it can take up to 12 weeks. So do bear that in mind when making an application. And then the final question we got in is, does it have to be a new project? So no, you don't have to. You can be an existing group or an existing community garden or existing allotment. The thing that you need to bear in mind is that this is about increasing access to green space. So if you're an existing kind of gardeners club that's well attended, it's unlikely that you'd be prioritised if you're applying for that existing ongoing work that people already come to. But perhaps you are thinking, oh, there's an area in the community, there's maybe a block of flats that people don't have gardens. I'd really like to target that group, get them down, get them involved in gardening club. You know, that would be increasing access. So you need to think carefully about when planning your project, if it is increasing access to green space and improving the environment. So those are the things to bear in mind. So yeah, you can be an existing group, it can be a new project, that's fine. So yeah, as I said before, if you do have some questions, please do email me on the community grants email, as I popped in before, and I will do my best to answer that. I'm also really happy to have like a general chat about your project idea. So the best thing to do is to get in contact with me, and then I'm happy to meet one-to-one over Teams and chat in more detail about your project idea. Heart are also very happy to help. So yeah, we've come to the end of our webinar. So I'm so happy that you came here today. It's really exciting to see so many people interested. Please go to the Heart website, read through those guidelines and application first before you make an application. Contact me for one-to-one. if needed, I'm also very happy to come out and visit your project as well. And, you know, hopefully restrictions allowing, we can do that soon. So thank you so much. I'm really happy to see everyone today. I'm really excited about this project launching, and I think we're going to see some real difference made in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.